Hi everybody, I'm Lynn Clayton. With me I've got Rose Klemperer and Jeanette Jackson. So welcome to our webinar. I hope you, I've got some lunch with you because we're in for a really good session. Jeanette Jackson is joining us. We're very honoured to have Jeanette. I worked with Jeanette quite a few years ago and was probably the healthiest I've ever been in the one-to-one work I did with her, and I've kind of followed her ever since. So Jeanette's going to take us through introduce herself and take us through her webinar and presentation. Please do use the chat button and let us have any questions, which we'll take at the end. Jeanette's going to speak for about 40 minutes. So if you have any questions, do please put them in the chat and we'll see, we'll deal with them at the end. So we'll be looking out for your questions. If you don't have questions and you want any questions answered after, that's fine, we can deal with that as well. So, hi Jeanette.
Hi Lynn, thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Great, okay, good, thank you very much. Okay, so welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure actually to be here today presenting for you. I've done a tremendous amount of work over the past maybe 15, 16 years with organisations, housing associations, a lot of work in construction and working with staff that work in that kind of arena. So I'm from the Manchester Stress Institute, and today this webinar is entitled Epic Ways to Improve Resilience and Performance. And I'll just say that epic didn't come from me. That actually came from a member of staff at the Northwest Ambulance Service when we did some work with them. And when we finished the work, she said it was epic. So I thought, I'm keeping that. So the Manchester Stress Institute, we are experts in health and well-being. We really do provide scientific content. We're real experts in this, so whether it's stress resilience for managers or digital micro-learning or mental health, looking at understanding anxiety and panic attacks, PTSD, performance nutrition, or much more around the webinars and podcasts, that's what we specialise in. Myself personally, I'm the director of the Manchester Stress Institute, and I'm a nutritional biochemist and an elite sports scientist. So I work with athletes still, because I really do enjoy still working with athletes, some of the largest Premier League football teams in the country. I'm a sports scientist at something called MIP, which stands for the Manchester Institute of Health and Performance, and I'm a phlebotomist, so I take blood and we run it through the laboratory and do statistical analysis, a whole host of different things. And so one of my passions is mental and physical resilience, because there's a real biology to that. You cannot get ill unless your biology becomes compromised. That's my opinion. So it would be great to connect with you if you are on Twitter. We are at MCR Stress. I am JJ Nutrition. And if you are on Instagram, again, always love to make a connection. Let's keep in contact. I'm Nutrition by JJ on Instagram. So we have a busy agenda. I've got a lot to talk to you about. We're looking primarily at stress and also around performance nutrition as well. We're looking at how to perform optimally when you are working under pressure and living under pressure as well. And now these circumstances that we all find ourselves in are very unprecedented. So one of the things I really do want to talk to you about today and to emphasize is looking at immune health. So when we get to the bioresilience nutrition, I'm really going to talk to you there about how to support your immune health and what factors could help to you improve your immunity so that you've got a stronger resilience to stress, but also the factors that we're experiencing at this moment in time in the world globally. So if we're looking at resilience, then we have to start to have a look at resilience during turbulent times. You know, every single day, even, you know, by the hour, the information we're receiving from the government is changing. So we're living in real turbulent times, and we know that that will obviously affect for some people quite severely our mental and emotional well-being. So resilience during turbulence times, it's a good idea to have an understanding of what resilience is. Now, when we're looking at resilience definitions, this one comes up a lot, which is the bounce back ability. So the ability to recover from difficult circumstances. That's quite a common one that people use. I looked up the Oxford English Dictionary, and they say it's the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. And then this is quite a well-known one. Resilience is a measure of how much you want something and how much you are willing to get it. So for me, I'm really keen on making this delineation between resilience definition. This is somebody has decided that for them, this is what resilience is. And these are definitions, right? At this moment in time for us, what we're going through, we don't want definitions, we want facts. So let's look at a fact of resilience. That's what we're wanting. And for a fact of resilience, we have to turn to this man. Does anybody recognise this man? This man is Charles Darwin. And Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest, says it's not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent. So in your organisation, in your family, in your home, in your sphere, it's not the person that goes to the gym the most or the longest or the fittest, or not the person with the most degrees and the highest level of qualification that's going to survive with resilience. It's the person that's most responsive to change. Now that's really important. So it's how we adapt to this change that we're all experiencing now that will determine our level of resilience, and therefore our capacity to stay mentally and physically strong. It's really important that we have that understanding. So for me, when I'm looking at resilience, to me, there are three pillars of resilience. There's physical resilience, there's emotional resilience, and there's mental resilience. And if you do not have all three of these, an almost a same amount within you, so if you are mentally resilient, but you're not physically resilient, then when the menopause hits, you'll be floored. If you're emotionally resilient and physically resilient, but not mentally resilient, then equally you'll be floored if the circumstance beyond your control occurs, such as redundancy or financial difficulties. So we need all three of these pillars in place to enable us to stay strong in the long term. So let's take a look first of all at mental resilience. For me, as a biochemist, this underpins everything. So I genuinely believe that you can eat the cleanest, most healthiest, organic, vegan nutrition, right? And you can feed your body the most core nutrients, take as many supplements as you want. But if you are experiencing prolonged chronic stress, that will make you sick. So we have to start with mental resilience to build ourselves up mentally so that we're not generating stress chemicals in our system and becoming sick over a gradual period of time. So if we're looking at mental resilience, we have to introduce this gentleman. Now, I presume most of you have not heard of this man. He's called Robert Sapolsky, and he is a professor of neuroscience at the Stanford University in the States. And he wrote this fantastic book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. It's a great book, and it's all about coping and disease. And fundamentally, the basic principle why zebras don't get ulcers is because their brain isn't wired in the same way that our brains are wired. So a zebra cannot forward think, it can't analyze, and it can't worry. So it's very much in the now all the time. So Robert Sapolsky, if you're interested in how stress turns into depression and anxiety, you'll just type in Robert Sapolsky in YouTube, and there's a fantastic 1-hour webinar on YouTube as to how the stress chemicals precipitate depressive state. But there's no doubt whatsoever that stress, long-term chronic stress, creates disease. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And we might experience things individually, like hair loss, tension, insomnia, high blood pressure, heart disease, weight gain, infertility, loss of sex drive. We might experience them individually or even accumulatively as stress goes on. But there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that stress is at the basis of almost every single chronic disease that we experience within our system. And in terms of stress, the first person to define what stress is actually a chap called Hans Selye. And Hans Selye was a scientist, a lab technician. And he was very clumsy, actually, and part of his job was to look after the rats that were in the laboratory. And he was really clumsy, and the rats were quite scurryish, so he kept dropping them, and he kind of hold them upside down when they were supposed to be up the right way, and all sorts of stuff. And he noticed, Hans Selye did, that over a period of time the rats started to get sick, and there'd been no interventions whatsoever. The rats were just starting to get poorly. They'd gone off the food, their immune system became depleted. And anyway, so Hans Selye is the founder, really, of the whole stress system. And what he says is that the body has a non-specific response to any demand, a non-specific response to any demand. So whatever the stress is that you are experiencing, and I know we've got about 40 people on this webinar today, each individual person will be experiencing different stresses, and also, I would say, different velocities. It's a good word, different velocities of that stress. So some people right now might have people that are very sick in their family. They might be worrying about somebody else might be worrying about money, somebody else about their own health. So different stresses and different velocities of them stresses. But what Hans Selye is saying is there's a non-specific response to any demand placed upon the body, whether that demand is coming from work, whether it's relationships, whether it's money, whether it's family, whether it's COVID, or whether it's from your kids. If you have an Achilles heel, a weak spot in your system, so say somebody's got asthma, eczema, psoriasis, anything like that, then what will happen is the body will react with psoriasis or with an increase in eczema, whether it's work, relationships, money, family, COVID, or kids, or whatever, add to that. So Hans Selye developed something called the general adaptation syndrome, and what he looks at there is a normal level of arousal. So on the left-hand side of this slide, where you've got the dotted line, you've got the red line just kind of oscillating there against time when we are stressed. And you can see here that in the first stage, there's an alarm phase, and this is when we start to experience this kind of fight or flight, panic at some stressors. Whether it might be, the loss of a loved one, or, divorce, or relationship breaking down, or something like that, that we start to experience stress for. And then what happens is we then develop into the resistant phase, and we start to get used to the stress. Bizarrely, we start to get used to the stress. And then if we continue in this resistance phase, then we end up in the exhaustion phase. So depressed, hypertension, obviously the end of that is thoughts of suicide, massive anxiety. When we work with organisations, helping them to help staff with resilience, what we look at is, where is the alarm? Here, we all experience stress. Stress is a natural part of our life. But here, before we get into the resistance phase, before we get used to it, there should be an alarm going off in us. And we end up ignoring that, or we don't even hear it, we don't see it. We're so caught up in this high intensity stress that we miss that warning within our system. And that warning could be, we might start to struggle with sleep, we might go off our food, we might eat too much, we might start rowing. There's a whole host of different stimuli that we can look at there. But I think many of you will agree that we do get signals and in our system that we just literally ignore for a while. And this general adaptation syndrome is looking at the alarm reaction, the resistance to that, the stress, and the alarm reaction, and then fundamentally exhaustion. And again, this is the time duration of stress. What I want to say at this juncture is, not all stress is bad. We need to be very aware of that. We need some stress in our life. It gets us out of bed in the morning. So let's take a look at stress and the two different definitions of stress. It's important to know that we have short-term stress and long-term stress. Can everybody hear me? Because I've just had a message saying my internet connection is unstable, which is odd. Lynn, can you just come on to volume and let me know that you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jeanette.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We've got people in the chat room saying they can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. So, definition of stress, short, long-term stress. I've got so much to talk to you about that I'm really cracking on with this. So, in short-term stress, when I'm working with athletes, so if I was just been recently working with Everton Football Club, when I'm working with athletes, before they go onto the pitch, we want to stress them. We want them to experience a short-term stress because we know short-term stress makes us think faster, react faster, and recover faster. Now, you'll have experienced this. If you've got a project and it's a 3-month project, and on day one you think, right, every day of this next 3 months, I'm going to do an hour on this project. And of course, many of us never do that. And as the project's deadline is looming, we think, oh, crikey, I better get this, I better get this. And eventually, you really have to knuckle down, right? And you're working under pressure. And that's when some of us do our best work. We think faster, we react faster, and we recover faster. So actually, initiating a stress response, a short-term stress response, can be a good thing. Long-term stress is directly opposite. In long-term stress, our recovery is slower, our thinking is slower, and our reaction is slower. Oftentimes when I'm presenting it within organizations face to face, you know, people will genuinely say, oh my word, I've really been worried about my memory. Like, you know, I'll start on my concentration. I'll start to read a really important project for work and I've got a paragraph down, I have to start again. That can be due to the stress chemicals that impact upon the hippocampus, which is the memory part of our brain. So the distinction between the short-term stress and the long-term stress is that short-term stress releases adrenaline, and adrenaline is a fast-acting hormone. So you get a shot of adrenaline in your system, your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, there's glucose released to your muscles, and we use that and it's gone. The second hormone is cortisol, and cortisol is a long-term hormone, and it's cortisol that does the damage. And we get a release of cortisol when we get into our head and we stay there. I love this quote by Ruben Chavez. He says, deep thinking is useful, critical thinking is useful. We need deep thinking and critical thinking, strategic thinking for our organization, for our work, to perform optimally as a corporate athlete. You need to think deep and you need critical strategic thinking. What you don't need is overthinking. It's a terrible waste of mental energy, right? When we get into our head and we don't get out of that, we're switching on this long-term stress chemical cortisol, and that is drip feeding into our system and creating havoc within our biochemistry. So we all do it from time to time. So if we look at this lady here, do you think that she is deep in thought or thinking nothing? Well, she's deep in thought, isn't she? Again, we can all see that she's deep in thought, but what's she thinking? Well, she might be thinking that about a row that she's had with a partner that day. She might be thinking about money and worrying about money, or maybe worrying about bullying at work, or the loss of a job due to COVID, or a whole myriad of different stresses. But I'm really keen, I'm always really keen, and this is because of my biochemistry. If I took some blood from that lady and I ran that through the laboratory, I would know, I would see immediately that her cortisol levels are through the roof. Because every time you engage your brain in stress, there's a biochemistry to that stress. That cortisol level will rise. So you think a thought about your ex-partner or about your work or being bullied at work or worried at work, and your body creates a biochemical cascade. Your brain is listening to every thought you think, and when you lock on and get stuck in your head, your body will react to that. So when I'm doing executive coaching, so we do coaching, one-to-one coaching, and I'd love you to come and get involved in that if you want to be, if you really want to make some massive changes to your life. And what I often see with this is people will come in and say, I'm too busy. Yeah, sorry, too busy, can't stop. I'm really, really needed in my organisation. I'm so important, I can't stop. And then they come in a few weeks later and go, no, I can't sleep. And I'm really struggling to switch off. Yeah, I'm really struggling actually. And now I can't recover. I've got a long-term cold, niggling, I've got arthritis conditions, I've got insomnia, I can't sleep. So having an understanding of the impact that stress can have on your resilience, these are barriers to resilience, these are. And the reason the barriers to resilience is this: behind every thought you think, there is a massive, massive biochemical cascade. So you know that if you were in bed in the middle of the night, right, fast asleep, and you heard a massive bang or a smash, your heart would bang out of your chest. Now, how does your heart know to bang? How does your heart know to do that? If you were going doing a public speaking and you're not comfortable doing public speaking, what happens to your mouth? It goes dry. So how does your mouth know to do that? Every single part of your body, apart from your eyes, is blind. So all they're doing is picking up on a stimulus from your brain. And when you think something stressful, this whole biochemical cascade will be discharged into the different organs in your system. So your pancreas, your spleen, your adrenal gland, your heart, your lungs. It's massive. And going back to Robert Sapolsky, why zebras don't get ulcers, he says a zebra does not respond to thoughts of lions. They only respond to the lions of themselves. Now, if you have got an ex-partner, which you know most of us have, and when you were leaving or separating from that ex-partner, they didn't have to be in the room for you to start to feel panicky. They didn't have to be in the room for you to start feeling a sense of loss. If you're worried about your job, you don't have to be sat at your desk to experience worry about the loss of your job or worry about the work that you've got to do. And a key thing, a key resistance to being resilient for us as human beings, which is really, really unique, is that we respond to the threat of a situation. It's not even real. If we create that situation in our mind, our body, our physiology, because it doesn't know where you are, doesn't know whether you sat in your car or you sat in the office or you sat at home watching EastEnders and your mind's wandered into the office, it will respond to the thought or the threat of something. So what we need to do is we need to create a disconnect between our organs of stress. We need to disconnect the hypothalamus in the brain, the pituitary gland in the brain, and the adrenal glands, which are on the top of each kidney. So that's looking at mental resilience, and we'll cover that a bit more as we're going through. But I know now you've got an idea of how stress impacts upon your brain and that cascade of hormones through your system. So now we can look at the emotional side of stress, and we're building this resilience pillar. And again, I've said it once and I'll say it again and again and again and again, that your brain is listening to every single thought you think. And if you are thinking of a happy thought, then your brain will emit happy chemicals. If you are thinking of a stressful thought, then your brain will emit stress chemicals and your full system will get activated. And remember, if you are doing that and it's not real, you've imagined it, then you're creating stress chemicals that can be long-term and chronic. And here's what we know. We know that there is a link between chronic inflammation, stress, and the brain. And we've got, I'm going to tell you about it in a little while, but we've got on the 19th of October, we've got a menopause and mental health masterclass in aid of the menopause, World Menopause Day. And one of the speakers on that is Dr. Ram, and he's a gastroenterologist, and he talks about inflammation in the gut and the lack of its ability to absorb nutrients fully to enable you to be able to survive stress and thrive through stress. So if you've got chronic inflammation due to stress in your gut, then your ability to absorb nutrients will be absolutely compromised. If we switch on chronic psychological stress, it's associated with its body losing its ability to regulate the inflammatory response. And currently what we're going through now with COVID, if you can't regulate your inflammatory response, then our immune system can become highly, highly compromised. And again, towards the end, we'll do the nutrition. I'm going to talk to you about how to really look after your immune system. Switching on the stress response without learning how to switch it off rises your cortisol levels, makes your cortisol levels rise, and that's difficult for all of us. On the coaching, actually, with the coaching that we do, we also do cortisol testing, and we can actually test cortisol through saliva, blood, or urine. And Robert Sapolsky has done many different experiments with cortisol. Raise cortisol, but there is an absolute link between cortisol, high levels of cortisol, depression, and anxiety. So again, you know, these are things that we can chat about if you want. But what we want to do is, and what's key factor is, we want to create some brain autophagy. I don't know if you've heard of the word autophagy, but autophagy is the natural cellular detox that your body has. Regardless of you're not involved in this autophagy. It's happening to us 24 hours a day. Your body naturally cleanses and heals itself. So for example, if anybody here is watching this has either got or knows somebody who's got, say, Crohn's disease, for us now sitting together, in 3 months' time, every single cell in your digestive tract and gut will be brand new. So how can it be, if the body's making new cells, then we've still got a disease 3 months down the line, 5 years down the line, when the cells are new? And this is about how the cell replicates the disease picture. Anyway, it's quite complicated, but I'm going to talk to you during the nutrition about brain autophagy and how we can heal this body. If we don't do that, then the long-term consequences, what I see a lot when I'm doing the one-to-one coaching with you guys, is you are exhausted through adrenal fatigue. I'm just not recovering, Jeanette. I'm working. I'm having 8 or 10 hours sleep a night and I'm working exhausted. Or I'm chronically stressed. My energy is in my boots. I'm exhausted. I'm foggy brained. My sleep is down the pan. I'm really sleeping poorly. And that's, of course, affecting my nutrition. Do you think that you eat really healthy when you are exhausted, or are you more inclined to eat junk food? Junk food every time. Every single time I do a particular a kind of workshop with organisations, junk food. When I'm shattered, when I wake up and I'm exhausted, I want different food. And science shows we have different hormones that regulate appetite, ghrelin and leptin. And science shows that when we wake and we are exhausted, in the main, on average, we eat an extra 500 calories a day. So these stress chemicals are really important. And here is just, again, a quick recap is we have 3 primary stress chemicals. I've talked about cortisol and I've talked about adrenaline, which is another word for epinephrine. I've not mentioned something called DHEA, and DHEA is a recovery hormone. And when we're talking about that general adaptation syndrome, when you're going through the different phases of the stress, by the time we get to the third stage, our DHEA is barely being manufactured now, and it gets harder to recover from the stress. When I talk to you about immune health, I'm going to be talking to you about how supplements or foods that will help to recover this DHEA. So let's just do a little bit of signs and symptoms. So spotting the signs of high stress and low energy. We're looking at things like feeling tired after 8 hours, feeling snappy, irritable, moody, a real lack of focus and poor concentration. I'm drifting off. I can't focus on work. Anxious thoughts, worrying thoughts, digestive problems, indigestion, energy dips, and loss of activity, loss of interest in activities that you used to really, really enjoy. So again, you know, we do know that, I mean, I certainly know that performance nutrition, feeding that body key nutrients that are going to help it to recover, is fantastic. And I did a big webinar yesterday on the menopause for organisations, and it was about, what was it entitled now? Deliberate, or something like deliberate, you know, restoration. So how can we restore the body deliberately? Because you and I are brilliant at working hard. You know, when push comes to shove, we can dig deep and we can work really, really hard. But how about recovering really, really well? That's what we need to do. One of the things that inhibits our recovery can be sleep. 3 o'clock in the middle of the night tends to be a key driver. When we wake up and our mind goes off, then we get into our head thinking about work, money, conversations, rehashing conversations we've had with people, maybe worrying about change, maybe worrying about COVID. We can literally lie in bed at 3 o'clock in the night on our own and hear conversations. We can hear people, we can see people, we can feel them, and we can experience them. And what I want you to know from this part of the presentation is this: your brain cannot distinguish between real or imagined scenarios. It doesn't know where you are. All it can do, remember I've said your brain is blind. Your eyes know where you are, but your brain is blind. So you visualize somebody from work, you visualize an ex-partner, you visualize somebody, you know, that you're having an issue with, or a situation or whatever, and your brain reacts at that moment in time as if it's having that exact same experience. Isn't it true that you can lie in bed in the middle of the night, think something, in your heart can start banging? Right? How can that even happen if your brain doesn't know what the stressor is? It's reacting because you are thinking it and you're feeling it. So a key thing to look at in terms of emotional well-being is looking at mindfulness. And to enable us to experience mindfulness, I'm just going to look at the time because I'm going on. Yeah, we've got another half an hour. Brilliant. I hope you're still with me, by the way. You're not dropping off like flies. So in terms of emotional resilience, we have to look at past, present and future, and where you are standing metaphorically. So if you are spending time today thinking about something that's gone in the past and worrying, in Wigan, they have a word called to moider. If you're moidering, worrying, really stuck in some thoughts about the past. And the past might have been half an hour ago, by the way. It's not now. It might have been this morning. You might have had a row with somebody this morning. You might have had an upset with somebody this morning. You keep going back there when you are here now, or you're going somewhere in the future, maybe at 2 o'clock or tomorrow, or the dentist on Friday, and you are worrying about that situation, then what you are is you're not fully in this present moment in time. And whether you're in the past or the future, then you're always going to be weak emotionally there, because that's not where your power is. Your power is right now in this moment in time. So to understand how to be mindful, your body has to be present, but your mind also has to be present. And that's about being mindful. It's an awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose to the present moment in time. Now, have you, like me, driven home, right, in the car from work and I have no idea you got there? Because it's such a subconscious act. We don't need to concentrate on it. We do it so much. And while we're in the car driving home, our mind is in the office. Our mind might be on the halt we're going to, or it's on a whole different range. A key skill of developing emotional resilience is to learn how to keep your mind and your body in the same room. If you're in the past and you're worrying and you're spending time in the past there, that's detrimental. If you're thinking happy thoughts, you know, hallelujah. If you're thinking really scary thoughts or awful things that have happened in the past, it's scary. Same if you are in the future. The key skill is to bring your mind now into this present moment in time and learn how to keep your mind and your body in the same room. Right, so how do we do that? Well, let's look at some strategies for mindfulness to develop emotional resilience. And there are many, many different strategies I can share with you, but honestly, the one that I use the most is coming back into the room. How do you bring your mind and your body into the room? Well, here's 5 things you can do today. You think about what you can see. What are 5 things? My mind keeps wandering because I'm really hyper vigilant about something that's happening. So I'm sitting in the room, or you're in the car, or you're walking the dog. What are 5 things I can see right now? You might be in the park. What can you hear? Birds, traffic. I can hear people, children. Bringing your concentration, your awareness back to now. What can you smell? I can smell the flowers. I can smell the breeze. Somebody's eating some chips, hopefully. You know, what can you smell? This is, again, just raising that awareness. What can you taste? right? And then also, what can you touch? These are 5 powerful strategies to bring you back into this present moment in time when you drift off to scary things from the past or fearful things from the future. And what we're doing here, don't think that this is just, you know, something that's quite soft and there's no science behind that. What we're doing is we're shifting your brain from your amygdala, which is the back of the brain, and this is our fear part of our brain, right through into your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning part of the brain. So let's take a bit of a look at that. So if you look here at the green, the bottom right, and you can see the stress brain, that green part of the brain there is called your amygdala, and it's our fear part of our brain. You can see here, freeze, protect, fight or flight. When we get stuck in that because something's fearful for us, then the thoughts are a bit like iron filings. We get so many thoughts that match that fearful emotion. If you look at the blue brain here, that's our emotional brain. That's called your limbic system. And your limbic system is where we store memories. We remember things. And again, if you're remembering nice things, hallelujah. But if you're remembering things that are really painful, then that can be very, very detrimental, because that switches on this cortisol and this stress cascade. What we want to do is get back into our prefrontal cortex, the executive brain, which is at the front part here. And when you ask yourself a question, or you come back to your senses, it will bring you back. One of the things that I love to do, and I do it again a lot, to bring me back into the room, is ask yourself a question. Your prefrontal cortex is a fact-finding part of the brain. So if you ask yourself a question, where am I now? What am I thinking now? You will literally be transported back into the area where you are. This is fantastic for 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. You wake up, your mind's buzzing, you say to yourself, where am I now? And then you picture yourself, or you feel yourself, the touch points of your body on the bed, your hips, your ankles, your shoulder, your head on the pillow, and you come back, drift back into the system. Brilliant, brilliant way to do it. Another one, of course, is looking at mindfulness and meditation. How do we do that? To improve your mood, increase your energy levels, self-discipline, and to develop a deeper level of relaxation. One of the best apps around, I think, is Headspace. You might have tried Headspace. It's an app you can download. I think you still get 10 free day trial. So that's really, really useful. You know, and we as the Manchester Stress Institute, we provide all sorts of podcasts for your staff. We've got 4 primary different modules of podcasts on resilience, mindfulness for beginners, mindfulness for sleep, and another really good one which is about how to dissipate mood. So if you've had a difficult phone call with somebody, or there's been an upset, how do you let that go and come back to the now? Another really good app is Calm. You can have a look at that. I find Calm is really good for my clients that struggle to sleep. So again, you might want to look at that. So we've talked now, a bit of a recap here. We've talked about stress and resilience and what that means. We've talked about mental resilience and what that looks like. We've talked about emotional resilience. One thing that we cannot get rid of and we cannot ignore, and I think a lot of people do this, and this is why I put this like this, and this is a missing piece of the puzzle for resilience, is movement. You've got to move, right? You've got to move. Now, because of lockdown, a lot of us are working from home and we're sitting down too much. You might go to the gym before work, you might go to the gym after work, but during the day now at home, many of us are sitting down too much. And because we're sitting down too much, what's happening is we're not stimulating our lymphatic system. And I'm telling you, your lymphatic system is it's called your second circulatory system. Your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, so it's transported around the body by the blood. And of course, your blood is transported around the body by your heart, and your heart moves much more efficiently when you are moving. So your lymphatic system is transported around your body by your blood, and your lymphatic system is like a waste disposal system. It's like a Pac-Man. It comes around and it chomps up debris and toxins that are in your system. And we have lymph nodes all over the body, and the lymph node's job is to collect debris and toxins through these lymph nodes and then put them down through something called a thymus in the chest, and then they get cleansed through your lymphatic systems, right? If you are sitting down working from home and you're not moving, you are not stimulating your thymus, your lymphatic system and all the associative organs. So your body isn't cleansing. And I'm telling you, this really does impact on you feeling groggy, lethargic, I can't be bothered, I want to eat some junk food, I'm not interested. And when your lymphocytes can't be stimulated, it compromises your immune system. Us at the Manchester Stress Institute, we offer our clients a whole host of exercises to get the lymphatic system moving, opening up that neck, opening up your underneath your armpits to get that lymphatic system moving. Nutrition, of course, is really important as well. So a lot of people say to me, what can I eat to feel well? Well, you can eat anything, but if you're not moving, you're not stimulating the lymphatic system, there's a massive part of that puzzle that is lacking and loss. So moving your system, the lymph nodes are absolutely everywhere, in your armpits, your groin, behind your knee, in your chest, in your lungs, absolutely everywhere. So it's really important that you get that moving. One of the things that I do personally is something called pranayama yoga breathing. And this is a way of opening up the chest, opening up the lungs, opening up the lymphatic system. And it's a really, really great way of opening up the system. Look at this lady, she's opening her arms. All the limbs underneath the arms, in the groin, in the abdomen, the neck are opening up. She's breathing deeply, so she's getting the tissues oxygenated. It's a really lovely strategy, and it's called pranayama yoga breathing. If you want to check that out on YouTube, there's a whole host of content there for you. Right, let's look at the third pillar of this resilience factor, and this is the physical resilience. So we can move on now to looking at nutrition. Again, I will say this, the power of nutrition to help your body to heal, to cleanse, to give you energy, to help you sleep well, to give you a menopause like no other is phenomenal. But you can't put clean food into a body that is fizzing with stress chemicals and expect a miracle. You have to have all these three things in place. So when we're looking at performing under pressure, well under pressure, and looking at nutrition, we're wanting to make sure that we have the neurotransmitters manufactured in the brain that will enable us to think with clarity, to perform with real focus, and to be alert when we want to be alert, and then to be able to calm and relax when we want to be calm and relaxed. So we don't want dopamine, for example, which is a stimulatory neurotransmitter, in the evening, because you want a neurotransmitter that's going to calm the body down then, such as GABA, aminobutyric acid. You want something that's going to calm the system down then. But nevertheless, we're going to talk here now about how to eat to feed the brain, and also how to eat to understand bioresilience. I coined that phrase bioresilience because it's the biology of resilience and the biology of nutrition to enable you to build a better brain. The way we build a better brain is by making sure that you have a whole host of different macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, and their associative nutrients, vitamins and minerals, to enable the body to fully function and recover, replenishment, and repair. That's everything that I do when I'm working with the athletes. We also want to make sure that we're getting a good host of adaptogens. Now, I'll talk to you about adaptogens when I talk about the immune health in a second. But adaptogens are it's like a mini stress vaccine. So they can increase our resistance to stress, and they can also reduce exhaustion and also support recovery and repair of the mind and the body. So I'm going to come on to them when we talk about the supplements in a little while. What I want to talk to you about now, though, is where are you getting your nutrients from currently? And once you've eaten that food with a particular reference to energy, where has that energy gone? So in all the years that I've been presenting for 20 years now. I never shut up. I do this all day, every day. I'm so excited because, you know, when I come to organisations, and most certainly when we're presenting face-to-face workshops, and I'm bringing my team of experts in, and we're scientists, we really know our stuff. The people in your organisation that love well-being, that are already doing yoga and big mudders and, you know, 10Ks, and they can't wait to see us, because they want more. Give me more, give me more, give me more. What else can I do, right? it's the people that are less inclined to associate with the well-being that really do often need the support. And one of the things that I found is when I'm going into organisations, if you ask people, would anybody like any energy? Everybody wants more energy. So starting with energy, that's a good place to start. So I often say to people, where have the sugars gone? Sugars give us energy. Where have the sugars gone in your system? And we have 3 primary storage sites. So for anybody that's had carbohydrates this morning for breakfast, the sugars in them carbohydrates will be stored in muscle, in liver, and in your blood. And we have really, really good storage sites there. But if you overwhelm these storage sites, muscles can take about 400 grams of carbohydrates, 1 second, liver about 100 grams, and blood 5 grams, just a small amount in blood. Any of them get overwhelmed, the body has no option but to make new fat cells, which is that picture down below. So we try and encourage people to eat healthy. The challenge is, and I know I've never spoken to most of you ever in my life, but I know when you have an emotionally stressful day, that can affect the kind of foods that you want to eat. There's no doubt about that. When you're emotionally stressed, healthy foods are less than appealing. And what we've found within organisations is when there's a salad bar and people are emotionally stressed, it's not appealing. What we've done is we've worked with organisations, designed recipes, and then explained why. So this salad helps to restore vitamin B6, which is an anti-stress vitamin, and it also helps to increase energy levels. The people want to start eating these foods then when they've got an understanding as to why they should eat that food. When we explain the vitamins and the minerals in there, so again, B6, it's called the anti-stress vitamin. Just take a quick swig of water right there. It's the anti-stress vitamins along with vitamin B5. You know why and what it's doing in that dish. People are much more inclined. We did a big survey for this for Langor Rourke, and the number of people, or the sales for salads increased by 46%. It's massive, that. And again, you know, performance enhancing lunch, what does that look like and how do we do that, right? So the explanation of that can be phenomenal. But what we also want to make sure that we're doing is increasing the amount of foods in our system that are anti-inflammatory. So if you today, to help improve your immunity and boost your physical resilience, or tomorrow, make this smoothie rich in celery, cucumber, ginger, and avocado. This is the nutrients in there. So it's going to help with brain function. It's packed with the right fats for the brain to help improve concentration and memory. It's got nerve transmission, so it's helping to oxygenate your tissues. B5, B6, I've just mentioned to you, are anti-stress vitamins. Zinc, I mentioned before that there's massive evidence now to show, well, it's just true scientifically, that people that experience zinc and anxiety can be low in zinc. Again, it'll increase your oxygenation, get iron to the tissues, and then it will help to reduce inflammation. Remember, we said that psychological stress precipitates inflammation in the system. That's just one way of helping your body, to feed your body, to reduce stress and to improve recovery. But we also need healthy fats. Healthy fats are crucial in supporting heart health, joint health, balancing mood. The brain is something like 65% fat. So brain health and healthy fats for the brain will undoubtedly 100% increase your concentration and your focus and your mood. But what fats do we go for? There's so many different fats. How do we know what fats to eat? Well, there's a whole host of different fats that we can eat, and you could actually make a meal out of this now. So if you added, say, some spinach, you could have some spinach with some olives, with some avocado, some chopped walnuts, and then scatter on some chia seeds. What a brilliant, brilliant lunch for you to make sure that you're getting the right fats to feed that brain and to make sure you've got increased energy throughout the rest of the day. One thing that I see a lot now, more than ever, I would say, due to lockdown, is that people are experiencing brain fog. Now, I am delighted to say that one of our most popular webinars, workshops, coaching sessions now is about the menopause. we need to have a much greater understanding of the impact the menopause has, not only on the physical aspects of our body, but also on the mental as well. So I'm not sure what you're doing on Monday the 19th of October, but I have an invitation for you. I'd love you to join our live menopause and mental health masterclass. On the 18th, that's a Sunday, it's World Menopause Day. So on the Monday the 19th, we've got a masterclass with a host of experts, and we're looking at the content is extreme menopause. Why is it that some people have a really very, very difficult menopause, where they experience chronic hot flushes, really chronic night sweats, anxiety, depression? So I'd absolutely love you to join us for that. We've only today put the masterclass on the website, and you'll find that at manchesterstress.com/masterclass. And please join us. We're trying to get the word out there. In terms of the menopause as well, just while I'm on that, we have a new course called Menopause Mentors, very similar to mental health first aid. In my opinion, every organisation should have menopause mentors. You have women that are taking time off work because they are stressed, depressed, anxious or sick because of the menopause, and menopause mentors are crucial to give them somewhere to go and to have an understanding. So if you want any more information about that, you can email us at the course. But my key thing, I've already mentioned this, is about autophagy. Your body has its own cellular cleansing mechanism, and what we want to do is to tap into that, to give it the best opportunity it can to cleanse toxins away. You've got to move, remember, you've got to de-stress. But then if we link nutrition into that, that's when we start getting very powerful. Because what we can do then is affect the renewal of our DNA. I'm not going to go into too much about this, but if you look at the top left-hand side here, you'll see something that says G1, S, G2, and M. And that is a cellular replication site. So we have these little barriers where you've got like little black lines on. They're stop barriers to the cell replication site. And what happens is, in each of them phases, your body stops the cell and says, is this cell healthy, and should I allow this cell to replicate? Right? What happens when the body is stagnant and stuck and under stress is these systems don't work well. So an unhealthy cell gets replicated. When you reduce the tension and stress on the system and change your nutrition and look at the ways that you eat your food, that cellular replication has time to recover, repair the cell before it's replicated. It's just genius. So a really great way that I work with people is the 8-16. You might have heard this, or even 5-2. The 5-2 is a good one, or the 8-16, where you fast for 16 hours and you eat your food within that 8-hour window. That does not mean you can eat junk in that 8-hour window. It means that you eat pure, real healthy food, and you give your body 16 hours to fast. So you can say, for example, start your meal at your first meal at 12 noon and then finish your meal at 8 p.m. Or you could have your first meal at 6 a.m. and then finish your meals at 3 p.m. You can do it exactly how you want. But the kind of foods we're wanting, remember, are the right carbohydrates and the right fats, and foods rich in magnesium and potassium. These have a natural anti-inflammatory property to your system. So making sure that every meal you have has got something in there that's either got proteins, carbs, fats, or it's got some green food in there. Something like this. How brilliant is that? I mean, I could eat that right now. This is one of the dishes one of our clients made on the coaching session. Really simple. I get, right, that you're busy. I'm busy, right? I'm not a chef. I'm not a cook. I'm not a brilliant cook. I've got time. I like doing things at the weekend, but Monday to Friday, I'm busy. So on the coaching, we do a lot of fish parcels. Fish parcels to make the easiest dishes, balanced in carbohydrates, proteins and fats, vitamins and minerals. Gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Who's not going to want that, right? Or that. It's really simple, really quick and easy. What we have to start to do though is learn, look at the time, I bet I'm running out of time, am I? What we have to do is learn how to shop differently. So learn how to shop differently. So, oh yeah, I'm really pushed for time. I'm going to stay on for about another 10 minutes. So if anybody wants to stay with me, please do. And then we'll just take short questions at the end. Shop differently. Most of us shop habitually. We like what we like and we buy what we like. We need to start shopping differently, buying different proteins. Proteins contain amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks for neurotransmitters. And if you don't eat the right proteins, your body cannot manufacture stimulatory neurotransmitters to help you to think, like dopamine, and it can't stimulate inhibitory neurotransmitters that allow you to sleep well. You've got to mix up your proteins. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And eat some protein with every meal and every snack. These on the left, limit them a little bit, but these on the middle and the right, sorry, that was a bit quick. The ones on the left, limit them. These on the right, fill your boots. Fill your boots, have them as snacks, do what you can. You obviously don't have to eat meat or animal products to get good quality proteins. Look at this, spinach, 69% protein, kale, 45% protein. So look at incorporating more smoothies, more salads into your system with really good quality proteins from that list. You'll all get a copy of these slides, by the way, so I am speeding up now because I really want to get onto immune health. So let's look at bioresilience and immune health. So what I want to talk to you about are some vitamins and minerals that you can get naturally from foods. I've just patch this up in vitamins just for ease, really. But the kind of vitamins and minerals you need to be put into your system now for COVID is vitamin D3 and acidophilus. Acidophilus is about gut health. We manufacture 75% of tryptophan. Tryptophan is a neurotransmitter that calms the body down and lifts mood, so it can help to reduce depression and anxiety. 75% of that is made in the gut. And on the Menopause Mental Health Masterclass on the 19th of October, Dr. Ram, who's a consultant gastroenterologist, genius man, will be talking much more about that. And he'll also be talking about how during menopause, pre-menopause actually, the gut motility, the movement through the gut of food slows down, so we can get weight gain and distension. So we want some acidophilus in there because it helps to manufacture good bacteria and good neurotransmitters. Vitamin D3 is a supplement that can help to boost immune health. There's massive amount of evidence that shows that people deficient in vitamin D will experience depression. When we eat vitamin D or we take a supplement form, once it's gone through the system and it's gone through the liver, it acts as a natural antibiotic. So vitamin D3 is really important for immune health. Zinc, I've mentioned a few times. Zinc, there's evidence that shows that people that experience anxiety can be low in zinc. So zinc is a key nutrient to make sure you're getting vitamins and minerals in your diet from zinc. We've got to eat healthy fats. You've got to put healthy fats in your system. Of course, you can get them from your nutrition, but I think right now, at this moment in time, you need an oil supplementation. I would look at a fish oil supplementation, about 1,000 milligram. I'd put 2 in a day at the beginning just to get your brain capacity up to full throttle. Also, multivitamin, make sure you're getting your B vitamins in there. B vitamins are water soluble. You put them in once your body's used them at that moment in time for probably a couple of hours, then it will just excrete the rest. So, you know, if you feel you're lacking in energy and your concentration and your focus and your energy are low, then a multivitamin can be a must. And I've put 5-HTP in there because 5-HTP really does help to lift and balance mood, but you wouldn't take 5-HTP if you are on supplements. So these are a selection of different vitamins and minerals that you can get from food. I've just put them there for ease so that I can talk them through. What I will say is I would love you to come on our coaching session. We've only put this in because of COVID. We don't normally do one-to-one. I don't normally do one-to-one coaching, but I've got a one-to-one coaching session. We've got 4 slots left for the coaching session that starts in 2 weeks' time. And it's a 4-week nutrition, performance and resilience and mindfulness program, but you get a 4-week supplement program as well. And you get the supplement program includes all them supplements elements that I've just told you. So that would be amazing. We've got 4 slots left. If you want a slot, then email us info@manchesterstress.com. Just to finish, just please let me finish one thing. I've mentioned vitamin D and the fact that it does really boost immune health. So please look at that. It will be fantastic for you to get that. Just want to finish on this final slide. Just looking at, if you're going to put quality proteins, carbs and fats in there, how much should you be aiming for a day? Well, of course, this is very general because I've never met any of you, but you're looking in terms of protein around 1 gram, depending upon how much you move. So now we're looking at balancing energy in with energy out. If you're not moving very much, you drop your calories down, of course, because your body's not going to use them. But if you're moving a lot, maybe you might eat more calories at the weekend because you're more moving, and less calories Monday to Friday. So on a non-high calorie day, you'd look at about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So say you were 65 kilos, you'd have 65 grams of protein a day. And then you'd up that to match your activity levels at the weekend if you move more. If we're looking at fats, again, you'd go for around about 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body weight. If you wanted to lose weight, then you'd drop your fats down. So you might go to 0.7 gram per kilogram of body weight, or you might, I wouldn't really go any lower than that because of the fats in the brain. The brain needs fats. What we do change are the carbohydrates. So I've mentioned to you before, when you eat carbohydrate food, your body converts them into sugars. You can only store 400 grams in muscle and 100 gram in liver. No, it's the other way around. 100 gram in liver and 400 grams in muscle. When them storage sites, them cupboards are full and a little bit in blood, it will start to create fat cells. If you don't use them sugars, it'll create fat cells. So your carbohydrates, you've got to match your activity level. So if you're sitting down a lot during that day, drop your carbs right down. If you're going running at the weekend or cycling at the weekend, increase your carbohydrates. So I'm going to stop there because I've gone on far, far too long, but I couldn't help it. I apologise. I'm just a bit giddy because I love it. I would absolutely love to see you at the Menopause and Mental Health Masterclass on the 19th of October. Please come along as your organisation. If you want the coaching session, there's 4 individual places left, but we will coach you as a team if you'd like that. And also, what else did I mention? And I can't remember. I'm just too excited. Lynn, do you want to come back in and let me know if there's any questions?
We've got one question.
Okay.
That came in. So Katie was wondering, is there any kind of healthy stress, or would this more commonly be thought of as pressure?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned that in terms of the short-term stress and the long-term stress. So the short-term stress, the adrenaline, is pressure. So that's when we're getting this project and we're cranking up to the end of this project, and we start to really get focused and our attention gets more alert and we really are concentrating. That's good stress. That's known as eustress, EU stress, and that's good stress. Yeah. Anybody else want to turn the microphone on and ask a question? I appreciate I've overrun slightly, so I appreciate there might not be any questions because you have to dash off.
We've got lots of people saying that was amazing, Jeanette, in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I can't see any of the chat, so thank you so much. Please come again. Honestly, I know you can tell how passionate I am about all of this. It matters. So I'm really, really pleased that you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Please come on Twitter and let us know at MCO Stress. Share that so we can share that with our clients. Is there another question there? Has that been answered?
I think there was one about investing in a cortisol test, and if so, where you can source them from.
Well, if you wanted to do a cortisol test, you would need that, obviously, the test results analysing, so you'd need an expert like me. So you can find any nutritionist. I do it at Manchester Stress as part of the coaching. And you need it as part of a coaching session because there's no point in somebody giving you a test result and saying, oh yeah, your cortisol levels are high. See, you want to go, right, well, what do we do about this? How do we strategize this? Just one thing to say about the cortisol is we did a lot of cortisol testing when we worked with the emergency services because they do a lot of night shifts, and that can really affect, when your cortisol levels go high, it can affect melatonin production, and that then will affect sleep-wake cycle. So people are wide awake when it's bedtime and exhausted when it's morning, and that's a good indication that the cortisol levels have gone out of sync. So in answer to that, it's, you know, you would need somebody to analyse the results and help you to devise a programme to heal, basically.
Thank you, Jeanette. I think we had a quick chat before the start of the session and talked about how I think last week with some of the announcements around local lockdowns and how it might be spring now before we're in any sort of normality, I think everyone had a bit of a collective wobble. So this session is really well timed, and I feel like I'm going to do lots of things. If I don't know if you could see me after during that session, but I was stretching because I've realised I've been sat down for about 4 hours now. So I'll do some stretching and get moving and think about that and really invest in ourselves, and hopefully we can all get through this together as well. But I think this session's been recorded, so it will be available on YouTube, so you can share it with other people in your organisations, and Jeanette's details are on the invite, and she's doing a session on the 16th of October with Wish Southwest, is it? Sorry.
I'm not sure which one that is, but that's only a tiny one. It's about 15 minutes. It's just a very small session.
Yeah.
One thing I would flag up is that you know, next month I think it's National Stress Awareness Month. It's Men's Health coming up soon. You know, as much as we can help to you to get the message out to your organisation, please, you know, do contact us. You know, you can tell I'm passionate, and all of our experts are. So you know, we're good at engaging with staff and getting them to want to get healthy, and that's a big thing. You can't force this stuff on people.
Someone's just said it's the best webinar they've attended over the last 6 months. So it's been really...
well, honestly, that makes me so happy. Honestly, thank you so much.
That's great. So thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you again soon, I hope. Thank you. Thanks, Lynn, for the invite.